Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bells Must Ring podcast. I am your host, Andrew Rice, here with my usual co-host, Arnav Sarkar. Rutgers played a football game last Saturday where they actually won. They beat Purdue 27-24 at Purdue in their home stadium. Game ended on probably like one of the most wacky plays that I've ever well, not ended, but game was sealed on one of the most wacky plays that I have personally seen as a football fan, where Purdue quarterback Ryan Brown takes a snap, throws the ball, it gets batted up in the air by, I believe it was Jordan Walker. He catches his own pass before Rutgers defensive lineman Frank Gano, if I'm hope I'm
Um,
saying
I think
Gagno,
it's Farrell Nago. I
Burrell
would,
Nago.
yeah.
Burrell Nago. Okay. Where Rutgers defensive lineman Pharrell Nago punched the ball out as soon as he caught it, and Jet Elad fell on it for the fumble recovery. Not too long after, Jay Patel nails the game-winning field goal. Um, with that win, Rutgers keeps their narrow path to bowl eligibility alive, something that's going to be tested over the next couple of weeks, especially as they have to go out and play Illinois. But what were your thoughts after Saturday? How are we feeling that Rutgers finally got back into the win column?
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt really good. Obviously, watching that, it was quite the tossy. Like I don't know what the words are, but like topsy turvy game, I guess is what I was trying to say. But yeah, it was like very back and forth, up and down. I mean, Rutgers definitely after the week that they've had, after the few weeks that they've had, obviously the team could have mailed it in. Greg Schiano was very emotional post game about that. I mean, obviously just losing 56-10 against Oregon last week at home, and we were there. We saw what the atmosphere was like, how killed it was, how bad the team looked compared to a team that's still in the playoff mix, if not maybe even the national championship conversation. I know they lost to Indiana, but I mean they're still a pretty up there. Rutgers, obviously the defense all time horrific, 750 yards allowed. I mean that's a mind blowing stat. But this week, I mean, to even though it's Purdue, like, you could say the worst team in the Big Ten, but it's after a week like that. I mean, Rutgers, wasn't really seen as so much better, maybe, as good, if not worse. Like, the odds had swung in Purdue's favor. So for Rutgers to be able to hold on, get the win, the defense, did tighten up a little bit. I mean, they had their, usual big plays, but overall, I think, they definitely did look better at times. On offense, I mean, a sizzling game for Rutgers as well. So, I mean, Cali McManus, had a really
Well,
good
let's
game.
get into that
Yeah,
offense
we should
real
dive
quick.
into those
There's
statistics.
First of all, there's one man that has to go before anybody else is mentioned on offense. We got to talk about KJ Duff. 6 catches for 241 yards and a touchdown. Like, are you kidding me with
Unbelievable.
that stat block? Like that, if that doesn't show you that he's going to be uh, a day 2, if not day 1 talent in the NFL draft come next year, like I don't know what else to tell you. Now, for those who are very worried about him transferring out after this season, it was communicated to some guys over at the Night Report that his family loves it here. He loves it here. He doesn't really have any desire to go anywhere else. He wants to be the number one guy, which he will guarantee to be next year. So if anybody is worried at that front, let my words dissuade. Um, let my words ease your worry a little bit. But yeah, you really can't say enough about his performance. Time and time again, he absolutely climbed the ladder on some of these Purdue defenders. I remember one, I think it was probably like a 30-yard ball where he just literally jumped or looked like he jumped on top of the guy and like
Yeah.
scooped it out of his arms.
Lost it, and then the play right after, like, was we went down the sideline where he dove for it. Like every single play was a big play because 72-yard touchdown. That one, the coverage broke down, nobody was there, but he had multiple, like, yeah, the one where he jumped over the defender or like turned his, caught it turning backwards, basically mossed him, and the other one down the sideline. So, and then every play was a big play. 241 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's impressive enough, 241 yards, but to do that on just 6 catches is just unheard of. I mean, you think he'd have at least 10 catches, maybe 12 for that kind of a stat line. I mean, 6 catches, every play is a big play. And how about the running backs too? I mean, Antoine Raymond, 29 carries, 116 yards and touchdown. I think the big one, Deshaun Benjamin, who, we've talked about. Greg Schiano's been noting him, and he was really happy about his performance. He had 8 carries for 78 yards, multiple big carries. He averaged 9.8 yards per carry. So on a lot less production, he had kind of close to as many yards as Raymond. Like he definitely had in some ways, like I would say in some ways a better performance. Obviously Raymond was the heavy runner, which he's proven. But I mean, I was really impressed with almost 10 yards a carry for Benjamin. And yeah.
Well, first of all, I mean, Raymond had like 30 carries
Exactly.
too.
Yeah. And Benjamin had like what, 8? So like
I would dare call it, or at least their use in this game, I would dare call it a little bit of like a thunder and lightning duo. Benjamin's a little bit quicker on his feet, while Raymond is the kind of the guy that rumbles through the tackles. So
right.
They weren't exactly used that way, but that's kind of their dynamic.
Yeah, 100%. And like I think even CJ Campbell, like when he was on the field, was also kind of like that shifty lightning guy. He was also used more as a receiver. Benjamin's kind of not really like that too much, but he's more like a, like a shifty kind of, make a man miss back. Raymond's kind of like in that Monangai mold of like a power back, and we've seen both of them. And yeah, I mean, Raymond had 29 carries. That's quite a bit. Picked up, but 116 yards, pretty good. But that's just 4 yards a carry. Deshaun Benjamin just 8 carries, 78 yards, 9.8 yards a carry along a 19. So, I mean, even Kalikmanis had a 15-yard rush, but he had like 6 sacks. So he ended up with negative rushing yardage on that, or he had 5 sacks. Purdue was just jumping all over him when they got a chance. But
I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if you saw this as well, but from my point of view, I didn't think Kalikmanis played that great. And here's why. Because there were several times where, at least I believe, that Kalikmanis ran into the sack.
Yeah, I saw that. Like he kind of ran right into the defender, and
yeah. So I'm like, I'm really finding it hard to judge. Like obviously, 6 sacks is really bad, but I'm finding it hard to like pick apart the offensive line when, at least off the top of my head, I could pick out like 3 instances where Kalikmanis ran into the sack rather than like reading off his offensive lineman and making a play on it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I find it hard to like pin it all on the offensive lineman when I could point to like 3 instances where a sack could have been completely avoided if he just threw the ball away or if he just took off and ran.
Right. Yeah. I agree because sometimes he was just like standing there and waiting, and then the sack would just converge on him. And you're right, he didn't throw it away. He didn't really run. Like there was multiple times when that happened. So I mean, like, yeah, there was like one that was kind of like the strip sack that that was kind of like whatever.
Okay, that was a bad job by the offensive line.
Right. But some of the other ones though, like him standing in the pocket, just waiting there, you know what I mean? Then running right into the defender. That's on him.
There was one where he he dropped back, started to boot out right, and literally just ran right into the tackle.
Yeah, that's like a thing with him. Like he just runs right in. He doesn't throw it away. He doesn't, like really. He's not the fastest guy, but he doesn't really take off running. Or even if he does, sometimes he gets caught right away. But like sometimes he doesn't even do that. Like that's that's kind of the thing with him. But statistically, I mean, obviously the big game, 19 for 27, 359. Obviously 241 of those going to KJ Duff, and then in the receiving game, I mean Ben Black took on Sheffield, or not Sheffield, but Ian Strong's role. He was out, 4 catches, 56 yards. That was good to see for him. Like we've been talking about him getting more involved in the passing game for like quite the longest time, and then a couple of field as well. But yeah,
you got to think about this for a minute. Ben Black and KJ Duff lining up across from each other next year. Ben Black, the speedster, versus Duff, the freak athlete.
Yeah, it's like you have options. Like you definitely have options, because this year it's more like Duff and Strong are like your big play, go get it guys, and then you got a speedster like Sheffield on top of that who can run a slant, who can burn you in the deep. So you have a bunch of different 2 similar guys who are like like NFL talent. Then you have like a speedster like Sheffield, who's like also a stud in a
Speaking
different way. So yeah.
speaking of strong, like people are saying like he's a guarantee to go to the NFL draft. And while I think that there's a good chance that he goes to the NFL draft, I think there is a small chance that he actually stays behind as well because he has been dealing with injuries so far this year, because he hasn't had the opportunity to put his best foot forward, kind of, because he's been dealing with bumps and nicks all season. Because he's missed a couple games and he's missed half the game against Oregon, the entire Norfolk State game, the game against Purdue, because he's missed time, maybe, if he really wants to like up his draft stock, he'll come back for one more season, dominate, and go from there.
Maybe. I mean, I've been seeing his draft grades pretty high up, like, so some people are even saying the opposite, like maybe he should shut it down this year and just go right to the draft. And I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
come on.
that's a ridiculous take. I don't
That's
see
that's a
him.
that's a culture thing. Because like imagine a head coach of the NFL is going to see that like, oh, he gave up on his team halfway through
Exactly.
the year. Like, come on.
Yeah, and he's not even like Alabama, Georgia guy. Like you know what I mean. Like you're really taking a big risk by if you were to do something like that too. On top of that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't look good. Like no, and he's also I'm sure not gonna do that. But in terms of coming back next year, like I could see that. I mean,
I say
maybe I
there's
don't
a
know.
small chance, like a
Small
very
chance,
small
yeah,
chance.
because I think he's done enough where he can go to the NFL. And probably I've been even seeing like second, third round mock, grades. Like people have been talking about it in different podcasts. And I mean, KJ Duff in like a year could be going that high too. Like, the way
Well,
he,
Duff is going right to the NFL. Like
yeah,
as soon as possible, he's going to the
yeah,
NFL.
he's going straight. Yeah, but he's a
Like
sophomore, so he's got one more season with us, I guess, or hopefully with us. Like, he
I
can
don't I
be.
don't think he's going anywhere. I don't
Yeah,
think he's
I
going
think he
anywhere.
enjoys. He loves Rutgers. Like, I think that's what I saw on like other sites, like too.
Well,
That
his family also loved Rutgers, and I'm pretty
exactly.
sure his family made it out to the Purdue game. I wasn't 100% sure about that, but I'm almost 99% sure that they were there.
Oh yeah, I was seeing that his family loves Rutgers. Like obviously they're both from Long Island, St. Anthony, so not too far away, and they
Yeah.
enjoy. Yeah, and I mean, but yeah, strong. Like good chance he goes to the NFL. I mean, it's like kind of like also like with a lot of Penn State players, all of them gearing up for this big season. So many of them could have gone to that. Well, obviously that didn't pan out the way that they wanted. But, but the idea, a lot of them could have went to the league and they decided we're going to run it back. This is going to be the year. Obviously, Rutgers different situation. I don't think standards are anywhere near that level. Maybe if this year's also like leaves strong on a sour note, maybe like next year, injuries and maybe they want to give it one more shot. I don't know. I don't think Rutgers is really at that level where it's really worth risking all of that. Like Penn State, like I could see it, but like it's just something else to consider, especially if his season was shortened by injuries. If the season doesn't go the way people wanted it to, like all those things, like that could play a factor. Maybe they run it back one more year, they try to do it right. Like who knows? I don't know, but like probably not. But I mean, it's all things that like
It's
I'm sure.
always a possibility, right?
Yeah, because sometimes it's like they like Penn State they want to come back trying to win a championship. For Rutgers, you want to at least get to a bowl. You want something, and on top of that, you're he's missed a lot of time. So I don't know which way it's gonna go. Maybe not, but like it could be potentially an idea. But overall, I mean, I would still say like the offense definitely looked pretty good in this one. They bounced back from a rough game against
Yeah.
Oregon for sure, and yeah, I mean, another thing you have, yeah, I mean, there were some, like you said, sacks, untimely penalties, and
Well, we got to
missed
talk about those
opportunities.
penalties too. We got to talk about those penalties too. Do you
Hmm.
remember that penalty with the kid with the punt return? The
Oh yeah,
punt returner
that was a missed
interference.
call. I mean, he didn't even touch him. The kicker, he kind of like got in his way like a little bit, but he's
The
let
the
him.
the returner
He
like
called a
pushed
signal.
him. The
Yeah,
returner like pushed him.
he called, yeah, and then he didn't even touch the returner. The returner falls forward trying to make the catch. Like he was a little bit in front of the path, but like not really, like not enough where he wouldn't even been able to make the catch. Like he should have been able to catch that fine. I don't know. That was just a really bad call. Obviously, like I don't think it
And
amounted to anything later on, but it was like a
and
really bad call.
well,
Yeah.
obviously we still got the win, so it didn't amount to anything later on. But
Yeah.
on top of that, at least from
So
my
from
point of
yeah.
view, I saw some egregious holding penalties go completely uncalled. I don't know if you did as well, but
Um,
this like got later in the game. Purdue ran it to the outside a couple times, and there was like, you know,
big holds.
like there was like two of them like next to each other, where the guy had like his one hand on the other shoulder pad,
Wow.
on the far shoulder pad of the of Rutgers defender. I want to say it was the defensive end, and he had like clearly like his hand like all the way across his body right there. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I noticed everything, but there were like a lot of big plays. Yeah. Purdue did not get called for a single penalty, actually. 0 for 0. Rutgers was 4 for 46 yards.
Well,
Um,
make that make sense to me because they've
right.
been
I've
like
never
the last.
seen like a team not be called. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but like you know what I mean. Not a single penalty,
Well,
even a procedural penalty. Like one, like you know what I mean. Nothing. Like
so, but you want to talk about a team that in the past couple weeks has been averaging somewhere around like 7 to 9 penalties each game. All of a sudden, they don't get one. Like, come on, like be honest with me here. You know, the
yeah,
past couple
especially
games they've had like at least like 7 to 9 penalties, and then this game they don't get one.
definitely
Make it
something.
make sense.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm sure they missed like a few, but like, yeah, that didn't really make too much sense to me. I don't know. It's weird. But third down also like Rutgers 4 for 14. Purdue just 1 for 9, so Rutgers definitely won on third down. Like I think Shiana mentioned on the presser. Fourth down, Rutgers was 3 for 4. Purdue was 2 for 2. So kind of like the Ohio game, I believe, where Rutgers was like 1 for 9 on third down and then like 5 for 5 on fourth. So like
Yeah,
interesting statistics there. You know, like it's good on. Well, you know, they didn't do too great in fourth down, but then or third down, neither team. But then they both did really good in fourth down when like all the chips are on the table. So that's an interesting thing as well. But
and
possession,
that's
yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
and that third down statistic is why I believe that the defense looked better in this game. I mean, like first of all, the big plays still an issue. I'm not
Yeah,
debating that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the big plays were absolutely awful. You know,
Horrific,
I don't
right?
understand how we can't defend a simple run to the outside.
Right. It's like
However,
nothing. Yeah.
the
And
defense did look better in the sense that they didn't just let Purdue move up and down the field. They got off the field on third down. They generated a turnover, which hasn't happened in. They generated a meaningful turnover, which hasn't happened in who knows how long. They did some against Oregon, but at that point,
right.
they didn't mean anything.
Nope. Yeah, you're right. They like Cam Miller got the interception, and they're all. I was watching like a reaction video like to the highlights, and the guy was like, "Why are you celebrating? We're down by like 46." But you know, like they got the turnover, whatever, and then they even got the muff punt turnover. So I was like, special teams is definitely swinging up as well. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I mean, this game a huge turnover at the end. I mean, you know, I think more credit like Farrell Nago. Like nobody even knows who that is. Like he's a rotational defensive lineman with a punch out, and also Jordan Walker getting the
I
deflection.
think he's young.
Yeah, I think he rotates in. Like he's played a little bit. He played a few snaps here and there, but you know, not. Yeah, I think he's a younger player. Probably will see more time on the defense as the years go on. But he made the big play, and I mean Jordan Walker too. I'm getting the deflection on Ryan Brown. That also was big because you know when by the time he caught it, it like loosened his grip and his focus, allowing Nago to punch out the ball. And then Elad, you know, finished it off by being at the right place at the right time and pouncing on it. And you know, you want to say that's the easy part, sure, but he still made a big play. And you know, like after the season he's had, like those are like the little things that can become big things. You know, if he doesn't pounce on the ball, like who knows what happens. So you know what I mean? Like he was in the right place at the right time. I mean, Nago absolutely huge. Walker absolutely huge. I mean, Elad came up big as well. You know, he did his job, and same thing with Jay Patel. I mean, he might have made some easy kicks, but you know, for him after what he went through this season, like I mean, those are big kicks, and I think you know, he won co-special teams player of the week, and you know, like I think that even though he missed a kick, like you know, which that's kind of a problem because it feels like whenever the kicks are from the right or left hash and you put some distance on it, it's a problem. But you know, he did his job. He got the win. You know, really great moments after the game, him getting carried off the field, Chiara being emotional. But I mean, I guess my point being like, you got to give them credit where it's due. Like even, you know, Elad Patel, you know, everyone. I mean, Nago and Walker, and like, you know, you have to give the defense credit as well. And yeah, I mean, they came up with that big moment, and they, you know, they set up the chip shot for Patel, and they gave, you know,
Jordan?
yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
you're good. The chip, it's just something that has been like coming back into my head repeatedly. Jordan Walker is like he is quickly becoming the best player on our defense, and I don't think it's a competition.
Yeah.
He's been, he's been a rotational guy, but when he's come in, he's contributed meaningful minutes. He had a sack in the game against Washington. I mean, he had like several tackles for loss. He's the one that seems to be making the most like big plays, if I'm not mistaken. Elad like has the tendency to make a big play, like coming up on the run and shutting down the run,
Yeah.
but he is a disaster in the passing game.
Oh my
But
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, but in recent, I don't know, recent games, I would say, he had the big play against Purdue. He's had he had the tackle for loss against Washington. He had the sack against Washington. So I don't know. I think he's slowly becoming, one of the most meaningful contributors. I mean, he had 4 total tackles against Oregon, 3 against Minnesota, 3 against Iowa. I don't know. I feel like, and he has consistently graded as one of the highest by Pro Football Focus. So
Right. Yeah. No, I
I
agree.
feel, yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like I think all three of them came up big, and I mean, yeah, Eli, right place, right time. Patel, a couple of chip shots, like he tied the game from I think 20 on a red zone, like drive that got like basically stopped, and then, or yeah, and I thought Purdue would have a good chance. Then I was like, they left a lot of time on the clock. They had like a minute 6, and so Patel makes that. He's been getting his kicks up, which has been good. And then the game winner, though, like, from 30, I mean, then they took all the time off the clock. But, like really good moments for Eli and for Patel, because I know they both have had rough seasons, and, like for
yeah.
big confidence boosters. And those are the little things that, they went right now. So now that gives them more confidence to go out there and ball and make the kicks, make tackles, like do all the things that they usually do. And, just really good to see that. But in terms of the coverage, though, like, oh my goodness, like, I mean, that's the pass coverage and the run, like, the big plays are like the problem. And it's just it looks like it's getting like worse. Like, I don't, this week it was like more glaringly obvious than, I don't know. Like, I mean, dare I say even the Oregon game, because like there was like sometimes when like people weren't even on like one side of the field, or one guy like, was, and they missed, and then the other guy's like free for like 30 yards. And I mean, I guess we've been kind of seeing that for a lot of the season, but this one just made it look so bad. And the pass defense, there was multiple plays where there was just nobody even on the same side, and nobody guarding the receiver, like literally nobody even lined up on him, like, and then, you know what I mean? Like I saw like, it was just, I mean, I think I wrote about it in my article, but like, Jacoby Henderson on one of the touchdowns to Devin Mockabee, he was like kind of, the slot corner was like 5 yards to the right, and he's like saying like, where's like, who's on him? And like, he doesn't make the adjustment because like he's thinking someone else is going to or supposed to. I don't know. He gets caught up in the middle because there's like, not enough time to really think
Yep.
through the whole thing. And then that it's a wide open air, like basically like, I don't even know what to, like, you know what I mean? A loft, like a backyard throw that like anyone can make, and it's a touchdown. And then this happens again later on where Brown just literally lofts the pass up, like it just floats in the air, like it's like, like kids playing football. And then like I'm just like, where is, like, how can you not have anyone on that side? Like it's like, is this man, is this zone, like what are we doing? Because if it's, you know what I mean, it's probably zone, but there's nobody on that side of the field. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Like I just don't understand like what's going on.
It in my opinion, it's get set right. It is not hard.
Right,
Like
that's what I'm
like
saying.
why do
That's
we
the
still
easiest
look like
thing.
we why do we still look like we don't know where to go? You know?
Right.
And first of all, as much as I want to blame the coaches for everything, and I do blame them for most things, but at the end of the day, even if the play call is bad, you're supposed to, you
Make the
as a
adjustment.
player are supposed to know where you're supposed to be on the play call, you know?
Yeah, but
Even
what
if
if
the
they're
play call is bad, even if it's not appropriate, you are supposed to know where you are supposed to be. You
right?
study it in film, you study it on the practice field. Why are you not lining up where you're supposed to be? Why are we having these breakdowns in coverage? Like
Every
the
week.
play is there, the play, you learn the play. Why are you not lining up, where you're
The right
supposed to line
spot.
up? Does that make sense? Like
Yeah,
you can't blame the coaches for everything because at the end of the day, you're watching film. You're supposed to be in practice. They teach you it in practice. It might be the bad play call, yes, but a bad play call will at least have somebody in the zip code of where
right.
they're supposed to
There were
be.
multiple times no Scarlet Knights in the zip code of like where the touchdown is. Like the right, they're past the on the right to the rollout. Like guys were not there. He walks in, and then like you know what I mean. Like yeah, he like walks in. Guys are chasing him later, but it's too late. Like, he has a wide open pass to the end zone. The pass play is even worse. There's like literally nobody in the vicinity. In the same state as like that as those receivers. Like it's just like I mean, my goodness. Like I mean, but it's just I guess my question is like, who is like telling these people to like line up that far away? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
I just because the thing is that they're confused to where to line up, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, and I don't know if it's they're not going over it enough in practice. I don't know if the players themselves aren't studying enough in practice. I don't know what exactly it is, but how even if the play call is wrong, even if it's a bad play call, how are we still lining up in the wrong spot?
That's what I'm saying.
Like
But like, I guess my question is, are they telling them to line up there and then they get confused, or is it like they're just not lining up right? Because like that's a big distinction.
That's like the big question that I just asked.
It's like, how can you like tell your defense to line up and not guard a receiver? Like, I mean, high school like teams would, be able to do that.
At the end of the day, it falls back on the coaches to have everybody prepared for the game. It really is. So, if they don't understand where they're supposed to line up or they don't know, you as a coach are supposed to make them know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like,
but and if it's the coach's fault by telling them to line up in the exact wrong spot, obviously that's the coach's fault.
Yeah.
But even the one that falls back on the players goes to the coach.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be on this team that's supposedly built on a hardworking culture if they were not hard workers. If they are, they are hard workers, and if they weren't, they'd be sitting on the bench. But since they are, we know they have a work ethic. What is, or at least we supposedly think that. It's just what is going on that is getting lost in the translation. Because, like I said, even if it's the wrong play call, even if it's a bad play call, I take a bad play call over just completely blown coverage and confusion. Because that's all this is. It's nonsense and confusion.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. Like, it's just too much nonsense and too much confusion. Like, I don't know where to even like start. Like, I've never seen like, I mean, it'd be one thing if like they lined up right and then they get beat so badly, like it looks ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like they went the wrong way. It's not even like that. They're literally not even lining up to guard the play. So it's like I don't even know where to start with this. It just doesn't make sense. But I mean, in terms of I don't know what they did. Like they supposedly they made all these changes, but it just looked exactly the same, if not worse. So I don't know. Like I mean, at least in those aspects of it did.
Well, I don't know if they necessarily looked worse. I think they actually looked a little bit better.
Don't get me wrong. Like looked more. It's like more even somehow than Oregon. Like they looked really off on like the red zone plays, and like I don't know. Like it's weird. Like you know what I mean? Like
I mean, I don't think you can deny that the defense looked better. I mean, they did.
Yeah, I think better than that. Yeah, in a lot of ways,
they did look better. Especially as the game went on, they looked stronger.
Right.
As the game began to go down to the wire, which is the opposite of what we expect out of Rutgers defense. We usually expect two good drives in the beginning, and then they completely collapse. But this time they completely collapsed in the beginning and put it together later on. So I wish I had a better explanation, but in reality, it's like we don't know if it's the players that are not doing enough to make sure that they know what they're doing. We don't know if it's the coach not making sure, not doing enough to make sure the players know what they're doing, or if it's the coach not deliberately, but teaching them the wrong concepts to begin with, and they're doing it right. They're just not being taught the right things. I mean, we've highlighted the what the actual problem is. The problem is that, there's just too much confusion going on. How do we fix it? I have no idea.
Yeah, because I mean, like I thought we would have fixed that last week after Oregon was like basically running practice plays and against us, and like nobody was guarding them, and I mean even when they didn't do trickery, just simple stuff like nobody was there. But in this game, it was like more of the same. So I don't know. Looked like Shiano was saying it was a joint effort calling plays. They're having like with the coordinators. It looked like he had the play sheet. He was making the calls. So it looked like that was a big change that like he basically took over on that side, even though like he his coordinators obviously helped, his coaches helped him with that, but like he definitely had the play sheet. It was pretty obvious to see. But I mean I thought maybe that would help, but obviously like clearly it didn't really have that effect, at least not in the big play. So I don't know what the fix is. I mean at this point I don't think there really is any. I mean we've been through a bye week, we've been through play calling changes, we've been through all this whole thing about we're gonna look at the defense and strip it down, and or like whatever this and then, like it still looks the same. So at this point I'm out of hope that it's gonna it's gonna get fixed. But can it get better? Yeah, I mean, it can get better. They can look at what they did wrong here and they can fix those types of things, like, to an extent.
It's going to get better, but it's not going to be fixed.
Yeah, it's not going to get fixed. It could get better, meaning like, like people could be in their spots, but like, I don't know, like the big plays I think are going to continue like to an extent, but it's just a matter of, I mean, like how much and can the offense, outdo it? And, and against Purdue, like, yeah, but against Illinois and other teams, like, I don't know, like, what I mean? Probably not. So, I guess with that in mind, I mean, like, we got another.
Yeah, let's start talking some Illinois.
Yeah, the Illini, right? So that's an interesting team too. I mean, I was, I guess I have to do my film series post that I usually do. It's a little early in this week, so I mean, maybe I'll get to it today. But I mean, looking at the Illini, I think one thing that popped out to me early is they're a lot better at home than on the road for the most part. Unless I mean, Duke was, I guess, a pretty solid team in the ACC, but it doesn't really compare too much, honestly. So I mean, but other and Big Ten play, I mean, they've. And they beat Purdue on the road, but so did we. They beat them by a bit more, 16. And I mean overall they've looked a lot better at home. They beat USC, who's ranked 23rd. They've been kind of in and out the rankings. Illinois themselves have been kind of in and out the rankings. They even at home against Ohio State, they lost by only 18. They kind of stayed in that game much better than most teams have done this season, I would say. So that was probably their most competitive game, like since the Texas game. So I mean that's props to Illinois. But then on the road, like losing last week, I mean well, first of all, losing 63-10 to Indiana, who I know they look like a steamroller, but that's just not a good loss. And then going forward,
oh my god, like first of all, we got to talk about that game if we're talking about Illinois. You're talking about a game where literally nothing went right for the Illini. I mean, ugly.
Horrific.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, they just got like completely taken out of the game. Like, I think Signetti was saying like we took their soul. I mean, that's probably what happened. Like, I don't know. I wasn't really able to watch as much of that one as I wanted. Also, Mendoza had like a near perfect surgical performance. He went 21 for 23, 267 yards, 5 touchdowns, and oh wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was just one of those days. But yeah, that was embarrassing. And then Illinois comes back, beats USC. They beat Purdue. They lose to Ohio State. They fall off the pole, and then they lose to Washington. And also like not really the best game for them. I mean, Altmaier throws 2 picks, under 200 yards. Damon Williams has a good game. Washington and Illinois, I think both are much better teams at home than on the road, because the week before Washington lost to 24-7 against Michigan. They also did win at Maryland. They, I guess, played Ohio State tough, even though it doesn't look like it. They beat Rutgers.
No, they played Ohio State tough. They played Ohio State tough. Come on.
I meant like score wise, like it doesn't look like it, but like they did. They
lost by like what, 2 touchdowns?
Like 18 points. Yeah, I mean they were within one score in the third quarter. So yeah, it's Ohio State's a frustrating team because like they can make any team look like that, honestly, and like.
Well, Ohio State's like one of those teams that like, I feel like they kind of like. I don't want to say this, but like they kind of like beat their opponent into submission. Like,
yeah,
they're not the team that's gonna like run you over like really quickly, but they're like a rolling pin, like, or like a steamroller. The faster it gets going and more it gets going and going and going, it just crushes whatever in its path.
Yeah,
it's not fast,
I guess,
but it still will roll over you.
I guess compared to Oregon, they're not really, at least this year, they're not like a showboaty, like run up the score type team. I mean, the only time that really kind of happened was Grambling, when that was such a mismatch. They didn't even really have to try to do that. That just kind of happened. But against a lot of the other teams, like Ohio was in that game in the third quarter. Which is, again, like how good Ohio is. But same thing with Washington. Same thing with like even Wisconsin 34-0. They're not. Yeah, you're right. And the defense for them is ahead of the offense, which is why they're suffocating their opponents, including Washington, who has a very potent offense. They're allowing them to move the ball, from 20 to 20 and not inside the red zone. So I guess, to digress and go back to Washington, Illinois. I mean, Washington hung around. But I mean, I think they play better at home. I mean, even in that game against Ohio State, they couldn't get the win, but they fought hard. They played a good game, and then on the road they lost to Michigan. They did beat Maryland on the road. They beat Rutgers by a bit more at home. They beat Illinois by 17 at home. Illinois too. I mean, like I said, like beat USC at home. They beat Purdue on the road, but again, that's Purdue. They lost to Ohio State by only 18, which again, that's close. They were one of the few teams to get a red zone score on Illinois, on Ohio State, which is good because it's good to see that somebody could do it for later on in the year purposes. And then not that I dislike Ohio State, but it's just frustrating. But I guess my point being, yeah, Illinois and Washington both better teams at home. So that going back now to Rutgers, I mean that could be a problem because last year Rutgers had their chance with Illinois. I feel like they had them on the ropes. Obviously, some horrific calls in that game. Like the timeout call, the blitz call. I feel that was another bad one too. So Rutgers obviously kind of had their moment, or they had a shot to take down a ranked team. They couldn't do it. This year, I feel like it's a little tougher against Illinois on the road in Champaign because Illinois play a lot better in Champaign. So I think so for some reason, like those things affect teams like Washington, Illinois a bit more than most.
I don't know if Illinois.
I don't know what it is, but that's just what it's like.
Sorry, I don't know if Illinois is a better team than last year, though. Kind of has me debating on that.
I don't think they really are because this year, I was really high on them. Like, there's some teams that just really fell. There's so many teams that really fell short of expectations, but I mean, some of them fell way short. But Illinois is more in the camp of like, yeah, they weren't as good as people thought. They're not horrific. They're not really bad, but they're also just not that great. Like I thought maybe, okay, Indiana, Ohio State, that's one thing. But then you lose to Washington, who's also not even a ranked team. And now your playoff hopes are completely out the window and they're not even ranked on top of that. So now it's just like, yeah, I mean, we're playing for bowl eligibility. They have a nice, easy schedule relatively for Big Ten standards. So they should be able to, get a few more wins in there. But I mean, obviously their postseason dreams are all but dead at this point. So, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, they're good. They're not that great, but I was surprised. I thought like they had kind of like everything going. They had a lot of returners, like, Altmaier. They had some, we could talk about their key players, like, Kane Fegan. Their running back duo is pretty good because they also have Aiden Lafferty, Khalil Valentine, Altmaier himself, dual threat, and then receiving Hank Beatty. Cole Rusk. They have a few different other options. The defense has looked really solid. I remember writing about, Gabe Jacques and some of the other guys on the D line that are, Miles Scott, some really good defensive players on that team too. But it just hasn't really panned out for the Illini. But like I said, I mean, compared to like Purdue, I mean, that's still a step up in competition. And like I said,
obviously,
yeah, I mean,
obviously, like, come on.
Yeah, what are we, like, 12.5-point underdog, something around that?
Yeah, well, we opened as an 11.5, and then the line moved to 12.5. Would not be surprised. First of all, this for Illinois, I think it's what they would call a quote unquote trap game. Yeah, even though they're not supposed to make the playoffs, even though they're not going to make the playoffs, this could be a trap game for Illinois in the sense that, they just had 2 losses to the best team in the country and a pretty good Washington team who I believe will be ranked by the end of the year. I think they're too good not to rank them.
Yeah, it's
my opinion
all year, which has like been really weird to me. Like I don't understand.
It's insulting.
It's really insulting. I know they lost to Michigan. That was kind of like, there's your shot kind of. I mean, I guess the knock on them is the schedule, but I mean, like they haven't really beaten anyone really good, and maybe Illinois might start to change that. But yeah, I don't know. Washington, I think they're receiving votes I mean, I have to say that, like, I think Iowa should be ranked too. I mean, I think they've definitely played like they should be at this point. I mean, they're 6-2. They've beaten some pretty good teams. They've blown out some decent teams like Minnesota and Wisconsin. They've hung around against Indiana, and they
Well, we're
beat
not going to call
whatever it is.
Wisconsin a decent team. They
Oh,
stink.
well, yeah, you're right. But I mean, they shut them out like 37-0. They beat Minnesota. I think this is the one that's a decent team, 41-3. And Minnesota also has 5 wins. They just beat Nebraska. So I mean, like, so I think the Hawks should be ranked. I think the Huskies should also be ranked. And it's just unfortunate that, like, the Big Ten, we talk about Rutgers not getting respect, but like a lot of these other teams in the Big Ten also don't get the respect they deserve either, including like teams like Washington and Iowa, who I would say should definitely be ranked at this point.
Well, first of all, we know the AP committee has a love affair with the SEC.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like, we all know it.
Knows that. Yeah.
Everybody knows that. And time for hot take time. I've dubbed Ohio State the steamroller. Like I said, they're not flashy, they're not fancy, they're not fast, but what they do is slowly roll through everything and crush.
We're starting to look like more like a good Big Ten team. Like, I guess, like, their thing was they used to be like the SEC looking, Pac-12 looking Big Ten team that, like, kind of has that, that the talent of like those other teams, but they're in the Big Ten. Now they're like in the Big Ten and they play like they're in the Big Ten, but they also have more talent than everyone. And their defense is even further ahead than the offense, which is making it look really ugly. And I guess to outside observers, probably a little bit frustrating. But I mean, yeah, they look like they're the best. I mean, Indiana has some more of the flash. I can't wait to see them probably play in December. And right now, they're the top 2 teams in the country. And behind them, I mean, it's SEC. I mean, like, the SEC is having a good year. I will say that. I mean,
but I also here's the thing: when all these SEC teams is ranked, when all of them are ranked and all of them beat each other,
it's just
how
like
do I know that you're good? You didn't go to. Remember, Alabama has beat ranked SEC teams, but when they went to play an ACC team, they lost.
I don't think that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but I think that's not really representative, because we saw like what happened with Florida State, and I'm sure if they rematched, they would have, they'd have no problem with that. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
but you understand what I'm saying? Like, how do I know that the SEC is good when the good SEC teams have only beat other good SEC teams?
I don't know. It's just like it's like a feedback loop, basically. So
yeah,
like, right? Like, I mean, so like A&M is 3, Alabama's 4, Georgia's 5, and now they have to keep it like that.
A&M is an exception.
A&M, I think, is really actually
because they beat Notre Dame. They went out and they played another ranked opponent.
Notre Dame, they beat LSU pretty badly, who's also a ranked team. I guess maybe not anymore, but they just fired Brian Kelly. But anyway,
but you're that thing I talked about earlier. Like, your Vanderbilts, like, I don't know if they're that good. Like, like I said, they beat other ranked SEC teams, but those ranked SEC teams did not beat like another ranked team from another conference. So how do I know that the SEC is that much better?
I mean, yeah, Vandy's only losses to Alabama, but other than that, like, they beat LSU, they beat Missouri, South Carolina, although they're not that great. Although they almost beat Bama. So, yeah, that's the weird part, right? South Carolina, who's, like, quiet at the bottom. But, those kinds of things happen. You're right. Like, SEC is, like, very, like, it feels like the Big Ten's more top-heavy, and the bottom is kind of like...
Oh, well, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
like a couple good teams in there, and then there's, like, a really, like an okay middle and a bad bottom. SEC is kind of more, like, less top-heavy, a lot of pretty good teams, some bad teams at the bottom, too. And ACC is even more, like, really good, and then the bottom is, like, even worse. Like, so...
Well, I don't know if the SEC is good at... I mean, the ACC is good anywhere,
Yeah, you're right. And even
their best team is Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech looks pretty good, I will say.
But that's their best team.
And Virginia, they have like some people that are like all right, but the bottom is like Boston College, like as bad as the Big Ten is, like our bottoms would probably like wipe the floor with theirs. So like that's that's why Rutgers is 4-8 in the Big Ten a lot of years and beats ACC teams all the time, which it's good. It's good and bad and frustrating all at once.
And this is like my complaints with like the entire scheduling thing and what should be mandated by the NCAA, right? What should be mandated by the NCAA is that you have to play 9 conference games and play one Power 4 opponent. No and this is a gripe against my team too, because we should have scheduled another Power
Yeah,
4 opponent.
you're right.
I don't believe beating up on 3 cupcakes. No.
And
You get
it's weird. We
you
had
get
like 2 easy games, and I like 1 FCS, 1 G5, and like one Power 4 or whatever it is.
yeah,
Like you should get
yes.
one of those in there because I mean I know Ohio's a good team, then that was quite a big scare, but like not having a Power 4, like people look forward to those games, like
And everybody, like every conference should have to do that.
and they're tune-ups. They're not even tune-ups. Like you need that to like get ready for, especially in Big Ten where it goes up another level. Like you need that to like really like get yourself ready. And like maybe you're risking a loss, like I guess. But the way Rutgers has done them, they kind of haven't. Like, or maybe they have. I don't know. They've been able to pull them
But
out.
not even just from a Rutgers point of view. I'm saying that
Everybody should.
Like we should be able to tell how strong the conferences are by their conference record in the out of conference games.
Yeah, but you can't if it's just if you're playing just inferior teams all the time. Then like
exactly.
But I think like on that subject though, like I think
we should go back to talking about Illinois though.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the other conferences did like mandate. Like I think now the SEC does mandate, like the 9+1 or like starting.
No,
like,
no,
next year or something.
It's only 9 conference games. That's it. They don't mandate.
I thought they said you have to. I think like now like the Big Ten's like the only one that doesn't mandate the the one like Power 4 game, which is kind of like an interesting twist because everyone was like, oh, the SEC this and that, and like cupcake schedules, and now it's like the Big Ten's like the one holding out, and like I don't know, we'll see, but like I mean, it's I agree with you. I think all teams should play a 9-game conference schedule and Power 4 in the non-conference. But I guess going back to Illinois because that's that's the main topic of discussion. Obviously, like I don't know, like I mean, Illinois is an interesting team. Like I mean, I don't. So they have an aggressive defense that attacks the football. They have 9 fumble recoveries this season, so I guess running backs have to be careful.
Yeah, especially Raymond because he's been putting the ball on the ground a little bit.
And then on the other side of the ball, they have a couple of running backs with 300 rushing yards on the year. So we have Caden Fegan, Khalil Valentine. I guess I mean those are like the 2 main ones, and then I think
there is Aiden Lowry, but he was announced as injured and will be missing like 4 to 6 weeks.
Ooh.
So he will not, and that was last game, so he'll not be available.
I see.
For this matchup.
I guess that's the guy I was thinking of because I remember him. I think it was supposed to be him and Fegan that were like they're both pretty good, and well that's unfortunate. So that's a bit of a loss for them, but but still a couple other.
But it's still a stable of running backs. I mean. Like you can't because one guy goes down, they still have they still have, absolute like horses in their stable,
Yeah, which is always good to have that. So like you have that availability.
So that could be a problem with us especially as they're able to keep their good legs fresh and keep rotating them. Obviously, all 3 of them having around 300 yards, they don't have like one Antoine Raymond.
True.
Who could just like completely flip the game on you. They don't have one like star back, but they still have like, and it's that rotation of keeping those legs fresh that could absolutely kill you. So there's that. But one thing I wanted to talk about as well is, and I don't think I have it mentioned on here, so I'm gonna kind of go off the script a little bit. So bear with me a little bit here, guys. They have their Luke Altmaier clearly has one favorite wide receiver, and that's Hank Beatty.
Yes.
Beatty has 45 catches for 690 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. That's almost 300 more yards than the guy behind him, and 20 more catches than the guy behind him. So obviously, he's found his one guy. He has very great chemistry with them. Somebody we're gonna have to absolutely like take away, double team, whatever you have to do. But that Altmaier is going to be looking for him. So that's one guy we're gonna absolutely have to take away.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Hank Beatty, I've been hearing about him, like seeing him since last year, obviously, like the main receiver. And then behind him, I guess they have a few other ones, like I mentioned, Cole Rusk, Colin Dixon. I think they use their tight ends a bit as well in the offense. Not really too much of a ton, but they definitely use them. So, I mean, guys like that, obviously Lawfrey, a little bit with the injury, but I think Cole Rusk is definitely another one to watch out for. And he led some of the other games, like the Ohio State game. Hudson Clement, I believe he is a transfer. I think it's pretty West Virginia transfer. I think he, kind of has like, he's kind of like the third guy for, the Illini as well. So, in terms of receiving, so that's another one. Colin Dixon, that's another name. So there's definitely other guys out there. But yeah, I mean, Hank Beatty, definitely huge. Altmaier, as a quarterback, I mean, I think he's pretty solid, but I don't think he's elite. Like, he's had turnovers, like interceptions. So I mean, like, I guess Rutgers gonna try to have to force those types of things, but I mean, he still looks pretty good, I would say, for a quarterback. So it's not going to be Purdue situation where they're rotating, Singleton and and Brown in and out the lineup, and
which I was surprised to see Brown activated for that game.
yeah, really
yeah.
shocking. They said he was doubtful. I wrote my whole like film room on Singleton and his mobility, and not that Brown isn't mobile,
How
but
dare they deceive us?
they like I think I joked about they kind of pulled a Shiano, because I feel like that would be a Shiano thing to do. Like, nobody knows.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, Barry Odom pulled that one out. But Brown is more like a physical, tough runner. Singleton is like an athletic runner, but it's not like they didn't use him. He was in the game, he was running, he was throwing, like, or you know what I mean? So a little bit different types, but they definitely brought Singleton in a lot, even to throw. So I mean, they just kept Rutgers off, off balance, I guess, trying to pull all the stops out for that win that I guess they didn't get. So, but yeah. I mean, it's like good luck in November now for the Boilers. I mean, like, their schedule gets brutal. So I mean, like,
well, I gotta say, one thing, like, even though, like, thank God we got the win, but going out, I went out to Purdue to see that game in person. We could not ask for a better, like, you could ask for a better experience. I mean, we were invited into their tailgate. They were very, like, accommodating. They were like, oh my God, come sign this. Like, we're trying to get a signature from each team or from fans of each team. Like, really, I can't say enough about their fans. Really, like, classy, warm, welcoming people. I mean, there wasn't any problems with us, like, leaving the stadium or whatnot.
Right.
We had a couple kids, like, we walked past, the kids booed us a little bit, but it was like all in good fun.
Yeah, all in good jest.
You really can't ask for, like, a better fan experience as an away fan.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you really you got to go out and experience that. Obviously, for me, it reminds me of, like, last year I went out to the Virginia Tech game, and I always have, like, a soft spot for them now, especially after seeing Sandman in person. Their fans also very hospitable, very, like, like, accommodating. That not even like, like, there's none of the stuff that, like, Rutgers fans I don't think are bad. I've seen, like, in the Big Ten there's a lot worse, but we're also not like that inviting. Like, some of these visiting fans are, like, they're very inviting, very respectful, very, like, inclusive of, like, and I think that's maybe something that Northeast sports fans can take up. Like I said, I don't think we're the worst, but Virginia Tech left a really good impression. Exactly. I think Virginia Tech fans left a really good impression on me. Their stadium was beautiful. I'm glad you got to go on the road and see Purdue. I've also been to Indiana, actually, when I was a member of the band, so I got to see their game day experience back then, and that was pretty cool too. But yeah, I mean, it was Indiana's changed a lot. But yeah, I mean, road trips are always fun, and the fans, yeah, I think both Virginia Tech, Purdue, like, really hospitable. And yeah, I mean, sportsmanship's always a good thing, especially when you're being that respectful and that inviting towards, like, the away fans. I think that takes it to the next level than, like, I think even what we do. And I think that's something Rutgers fans could take a page out of the book. I don't know, but, like,
yeah, like, now that it kind of reminded me to talk about it, there will be an article published about my experience walking around Purdue, everything like that, for OnTheBanks. So, be aware of that. That was something we were talking about earlier. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to write, but now that kind of light bulb dinged in my head. But
that's yeah. That's pretty awesome, actually. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, I guess what I was trying to say is, like, the 2 quarterback system for Purdue, and even though like, Brown was the main guy, they brought Singleton in a lot, even through, I think, a couple touchdown passes, and then Illinois looks like, I mean, Altmaier's, like, pretty good, and he's going to be the main guy, and yeah, I mean, he's not, like, perfect. He's had his mistakes and he's had his moments, but I think playing at home, like, again, this is where the home away thing comes in. Like, I think they're going to be a lot better, looking for a bounce back after a tough loss to Washington, after Ohio State. And I don't know. I mean, could Rutgers hang in there? Yes, but the way the defense is, though, like, that's going to be a problem. Like, you know what I mean? That's like,
I mean, there's always the law of any given Saturday. I feel like you always have to take that into account. And then
Right.
there's the law of momentum. Rutgers is actually
That's
the one
true.
coming into this game with the momentum.
Right.
You know,
Like for
I
once.
never thought I would say that. You know,
For once, they have the
yeah,
momentum. Yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
coming into this game
Exactly.
off the momentum. I mean, we're coming off a win. They're coming off 2 straight losses. You know,
Exactly.
anything goes, right? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
they're going to be looking like they're going to be playing just as hard to get back into that win column. You know, they want to fight. They're gonna like scratch and
Yeah.
claw. I mean,
They
what did
put a
they
whole
do
lot
after
of
they got
ability. Yeah.
blown out by Indiana? They got blown out by Indiana, but then they came back and beat USC.
Right.
This is
So they're
this is
like,
a, this is
yeah.
a not back down culture for Illinois.
They're
So
like a really up and down team, which is like that's like the weird part about it. Like, and maybe it's a
I
lot of
don't
it's like
I
home and
don't
away
think that
splits,
I
but like
don't
I
think
don't
they
know.
are that much of an up and down team though. And I'm going to push back against you a little bit there because yes, like they got blown out by by the two best teams in the country, and what I see is by far the two best teams in the country.
Yeah, Bucks and
And I will die on this hill that Washington
should be
should
ranked.
be a ranked team
Yes,
by the end of the year,
ranked
and
them
I think that they should be ranked like not even like 25. I think they should be
top
ranked
20.
like 17 to 20, somewhere in that
Yeah,
range.
it's ridiculous. Like, but I don't know. Like, it's
And
just
getting beat
you
by
know.
them, like I think we know what Illinois is now, and I don't see USC as a top 20 team in my opinion. I think we know what Illinois is now. I think they're a team that floats between like the 24 to like 28 range, you know. But
Yeah,
I think we know what they are. They're
I
not an
think
up and
so.
down team.
They're just really not that great. Like they're okay, but they're not where they were supposed to be. And again, like I'm gonna keep saying it, but I really do think a lot of it is home and away, which is why
Yeah.
like the arrow's pointing down against Rutgers here, or like for maybe it's pointing up for them. And who knows? Like for us, like we got a road win too, but that's against a really bad Purdue team. I mean, with all due respect, but for Illinois, like a step, even as not great as they've been, still a bit of a step up in competition. Maybe borderline ranked or whatever. Definitely going to be favored by almost 2 touchdowns. Maybe Rutgers covers, but I don't see them winning it. Especially the way the defense has been playing, like that's just not going to fly. But
You know
yeah,
what? I think you're right there. I think I'll take Illinois to win. If I was a betting man, I would take Illinois to win, Rutgers to cover.
I think that sounds appropriate. I do see like because the spread's like massive. It's like almost 2 touchdowns in Illinois. Like that could be something where Rutgers cashes in on that. Like I could see Rutgers losing by 10, maybe. You know what I mean? Like like I don't know. So like maybe even a single score. Who knows? But probably you know what I mean. Like high, lower double digits. I could definitely see it cover. I guess with that in mind, like, do you want to do your our early score predictions to kind of wrap this one up here?
Well, do I want to do my score prediction as a Scarlet Knight fan? Not really. But I will give it regardless. The old saying is good teams win,
Let's
but
go.
great teams cover. Rutgers needs to get to 30 points to win any game this season,
Yeah.
besides the one against Purdue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't say any game, but Rutgers needs to get to 30 points to win this game. I don't think they do that. I think Illinois, is able to take advantage of a severely weak Rutgers defense. I'm going to go Illinois steals the win, 35. No, not steals, but Illinois takes the win, 35 to 28.
I like the sound of that. I mean, yeah, I think Rutgers can score. I don't know how good exactly Illinois' defense is, but I think it was supposed to be pretty good in the preseason. It's kind of let up a little bit against some of these other teams, and again, I feel like they're going to be a lot better at home. That's where the defense comes in. That can help the quarterback can help the defense too, because the
home field advantage.
Yeah, that's a big one. And Rutgers, like they won, but yeah, the way the defense is, I don't really trust it. I think at the offense, I think just score. I'm going to go with like 34-24 Illinois. I think they do get the cover, but I don't really see too much better than that. Like I could talk myself into 34-27, but it's going to be like around that range. I don't know. I'll roll with
I was going to say,
Right.
since you mentioned I think I could talk myself into a 35 to 27, but for some reason my head is like stuck on Illinois is going to score 5 touchdowns. Like I don't want to be that guy.
Even
But but my head is like stuck on. I don't think this team is going to force field goals.
No.
I think they might force a couple stops, but I don't think they're going to force field goals. Like once it gets to the other side of the Illinois,
yeah,
40-yard line, it's going to be touchdowns.
It can be maybe 35-24. I don't know. Like, not entirely sure, honestly. Like, I'll have to think that one through. I mean, again, like these are probably not gonna be whatever it is, but I'm rolling around that like Rutgers gets the cover, but not by like too much, and they lose the game. So yeah, something like that. Like right now maybe I'll just roll with. I like 34-24. I think it sounds good to me, but could
And if you remember, if you go bet with our picks, it is not our fault if you lose money.
yeah, we're not responsible for that, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, I'm liable to change mine for the article. I don't think I will.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I mean, we'll get those staff picks out later. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, this has been a good hour of football. I mean, do you want to talk about like what we have coming up for for tomorrow?
Well, yeah, but first of all, I'm going to kind of run down because we're going to be doing a little bit of different things this week. I'm going to run down, first of all, keep an eye out for that a fan experience at Purdue. I feel like that's going to be a very fun article, one that I am very personally excited to write.
Oh yeah, I wish I was here last year because I probably would have wanted to. Although for Sports Radio America being my my co-editor, like my we did something similar for Virginia Tech. But yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. I can't wait to see that.
Like first of all, again, I really can't say enough about the Purdue fans. But then tomorrow we're gonna have a special guest on. He's known as Rutgers Mets superfan across. Well, I guess now just Rutgers superfan across all social media. So he's gonna come on. He will be helping us preview the Rutgers men's and women's basketball seasons.
I know. Can't wait to.
We're right there.
The hoops. Like we're what about a week away? I think women's tips off next Monday, men's on Wednesday. So we are like knocking on the door for basketball seasons at Jersey Mike's Arena, and yeah, we'll also catch up on some non-revenue sports because I know it's been a while since we've done that. Although we've been writing articles about that, like kind of a lot's been going on, postseason play. Catch up on field hockey, volleyball, maybe even talk a little wrestling, soccer, like all that good stuff. But yeah, focus it mainly on basketball and give a good preview of that, catch up on the non-ref sports, and yeah, other than that, I mean,
we're also going to have some articles where we're going to have a men's and women's preview done in a separate article.
Right.
We're also going to have roster breakdown, schedule preview, stuff like that. So you're gonna be eating good in terms of basketball content.
Oh, I cannot wait to cover these games, cover these teams. Do my do some preseason previews for I guess I'm doing women's as kind of like the beat writer, I guess, and you're doing men's. So I'm gonna take the women's schedule. Something about like a little like top games to watch in the non-conference. Because that's coming up first or early part of the season, and then do a little roster preview. I know there's so many transfers, and just to get better idea of who's who and who's what and all that kind of good stuff. So same thing for you. Obviously, you're going to take the men's side of it as well. So, yeah.
We're also going to be bringing on what we see as a little bit of a Rutgers basketball expert, Greg Hanchuk, who runs his own Rutgers men's basketball podcast. He's going to be coming on. He's going to be a writer for us. He's going to float between men's and women's writing. So, really excited to have him on. Can't wait to see what he can do. Now that we have a little bit more of a basketball-minded guy contributing to our writing.
I think that's going to be huge for us because I know like we both been big on football and we also are for basketball, obviously. But having someone like that who really knows these teams, can really talk about them. I mean, especially and even the women's as well. It'll definitely be a big help, and especially with how many games there are, it could definitely be good for article purposes. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be overlap season coming up soon, so just a lot of sports going on around Rutgers.
And, if for some reason, whatever happens, you've never been to a Rutgers basketball game and you stumbled upon this podcast, please, for the love of God, go. I mean, like, it is one of the best atmospheres you'll ever see on campus. Great. Like, I cannot stress it enough. Really excited to be able to do the overlap content with you guys with football and basketball coming. But I'm pretty sure that does it for everything that we have here today, unless there's something you wanted to mention really quick.
I mean, I think we pretty much covered it, but I guess for me, like football's always been like, when I first started following this stuff, like, with band and even in radio, like I guess football is kind of like my true love with Rutgers sports. That's like where I really started following this stuff. But I will say basketball, the atmosphere is electric. You have to go. You have to go. You have to go. And I cannot wait to check out. I mean, especially with the men's team and even the women's team. I mean, the Jersey Mikes, it just gets really loud at times. And, like I can't wait to be back there and, see what this team, like new rosters on both sides of the ball, or well, that's a football term, but for both teams, and like to see what they look like after kind of disappointing years on both sides, especially on the men's side this year. I don't know. I mean, like early take that I don't know. Like maybe they'll be better than expected. They have some shooting, have some athleticism, have a lot of defense, and I'm excited to see what the team kind of shakes out. I heard they were doing pretty good in preseason scrimmages, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking.
And then
forward
on the flip
to
side,
seeing
your women's squad, they look like they had the blemishes last year with they who shall not be named, but
boy.
but looks like this season they can they could make some runs.
Yeah, I mean, a
They
lot of
they
like
picked up some
quality,
talent.
a lot of
Yeah,
quality transfers from like around the Power Four, conferences, and yeah, I mean, they can make some noise, and we'll see how the men's team does, but I'm excited. So I guess that's my note is I might be a football guy first, but basketball is like the atmosphere is like unmatched. I think it's
go
one of
to
the
the
best in the
game.
country. So please, yeah, show up and show out. So yeah, go
All
Rutgers.
right, go Rutgers. Not to show our own personal biases there, but yeah, go Rutgers.
Yeah, it's a Rutgers.
Yeah, go that team. But like I mentioned, that's pretty much we have it. All we have for you guys here today. A lot of exciting stuff coming down the docket, especially for basketball. Make sure to tune into our podcast. Tune into On the Banks. Thank you guys for so much for reading and watching, and we'll catch you next time. And remember that the bells must ring.